About 3 years ago, the University of New South Wales asked me to record a video on the important work we do as dietitians and some of my learnings from practice. Well, like everything in dietetics, it's important to be updated, and so I've revised that video and share it with you today. If you're considering a career as a private practitioner or anywhere as a dietitian in practice, there's some take-home messages that I'm sure you'll benefit from. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 10 minutes. Welcome to a new dawn of nutrition education. As a former graduate of UNSW, I can attest to the quality of the teaching that's provided. You're one of a select group invited to participate in the program, and you'll benefit from the many opportunities it provides. Let's learn more about one of the biggest, running a private practice. So my journey so far. After finishing high school, I completed a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science at Griffith University in Queensland and started out my working life at the Garvan Institute in Darlinghurst in Sydney in the diabetes department. I found it wasn't fulfilling, so I decided to change tact and join the pharmaceutical industry. A company called Eli Lilly, where I started out in sales, transitioned into product management, sales management, national sales management. Along the way, I completed a certificate in marketing, and this enabled me to be promoted to the United States, where I worked as a global brand manager and a primary care strategy manager in their parent headquarters in Indianapolis. After 3 years, I was promoted back to Australia as the Australian and New Zealand marketing director. Along the way, I found a wife, we had 3 kids, and I found 30 unwanted kilos. So I went to a dietitian, and she was excellent. She helped me identify the key aspects of my diet that I needed to work upon, and I lost all the weight I'd gained. But life went on. I had a change of role, I had a change in company, and like a lot of the clients that we see, I regained all the weight that I'd lost. So I went to a second dietitian, but this time unsuccessful. She wasn't able to help me identify the key things to work on. So I decided to go back to university and become a dietitian. So I completed a Masters of Nutrition and Dietetics from Griffith University. So I'm a second career dietitian. With that under my belt, I started out and developed a company from scratch called Healthier You. It's a consultancy that's still in practice on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. I ran it for 17 years. And it, at a peak, had 4 dietitians across 6 locations. And while I was doing that, I was invited to join the Bond University External Advisory Committee to help advise strategies for their program for preparing their graduates for private practice. In 2019, I decided to sell off 4 of my clinics and complete a PhD. I decided to look at outcome measures for practice. I knew what I did in my practice, but I wanted to understand what was best practice. And my PhD aimed at identifying evidence-based standards for practice. I completed that in 2023, at which point I decided to sell off my remaining clinics and move to the Gold Coast. I no longer consult directly to clients, but I have undertaken a role as a National Dietetics Advisor in a part-time capacity for the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I'm also a reviewer for Nutrition and Dietetics, which is the Australian journal, and a number of international journals, including the Journal of Human Nutrition and Dietetics, the British Journal. This year I've also been invited to join the Research Steering Committee for Diabetes Australia and help them administer the spending of about $40 million that they've got to invest in research in diabetes over the next 10 years. So I no longer directly consult to clients. I do have various different roles that I undertake, and I'm also enjoying the fruits of the labours of living on the Gold Coast, sometimes a little bit too much. I think it's the variety in the job. Dietitians are people, and they love interacting with people, and I see a broad range of clients in this job. For instance, this week I've seen a triathlete wanting some advice on how to prepare for an upcoming race. I've seen a young woman who's suffering from irritable bowel syndrome. I've seen newly diagnosed people with diabetes. And I've seen people that are elderly who are trying to sustain their weight. So it's the broad mix of clients in my practice that really excites me. We take a lot of nutrition knowledge and we've got to customise it down to the individual person. So I think the variety in the job's probably one of the most important things. Importantly, you can make a good living out of it. If you do private practice well, you can make a good living, you get a rewarding job. Day in the life. Well, firstly, I get up and I try to do some exercise first up. We live in a beautiful location, so we get out and have a look around the beach and have a walk along the beach to start the day. I get into the office pretty early. When I get in, usually the first thing I do is get the computer going, check some email, and get some of my admin tasks done, so some doctor reports or letters that I've got to write. Once my consulting day starts, it's usually back-to-back clients through the day, a wide variety of different clients. Sometimes I'll interact with a referrer, either on the phone or maybe in conversation. We do have some other people that work in our building, and sometimes I'll chat to them about clients that we share. It's not unusual towards the end of the day that I may do a home visit on the way home. Often we see clients that just not able to get into the office, and as an extra service to them, then we go out and see them in their home. When I get home, I try to switch off, try not to do any admin work at home, focus on the family, we eat together and I'm watching television, I have a bit of fun. Your current field of work can vary depending on which hat you're wearing. Firstly, when running a practice. My primary role as a clinician is to run my own private practice, and I see clients pretty heavy consulting days. When I do consult, I start pretty early and I finish pretty late, and I see a wide variety of clients. As I was talking about before, mix of ages, a mix of different types of conditions that we treat. And secondly, since selling that practice.
Dr. Peter Clark, whose thesis examined gathering the evidence for a method to assess outcomes in primary care dietetics in Australia.
Since completing my PhD, identifying data standards for practice, I've taken on advisory roles for the Department of Veterans Affairs, Diabetes Australia, and various dietetic journals. I think it demonstrates the breadth of opportunities that a dietetic degree creates. So my top 5 things I wish I knew as a student. Number 5, build your network. You're surrounded by great people in your class. They're great friends, but they're great sources of knowledge, and utilize their expertise as you go throughout your career. Utilize the expertise of the lecturers that you connect with at universities and the placement sites you do. Build your network, because one day in the future you will need those people. Believe in your client and tell them so. There's nothing more powerful to a client than being told, I think you can do this. So believe in your client. My number 3, 80% of weight loss is diet and 20% is exercise. It takes 36 minutes to walk off 30 grams of chocolate. It takes 20 minutes to walk off a slice of bread. Abs are made in the kitchen. They're not made in the gym. Make sure you focus on that if you're seeing people for weight loss. If they can't exercise, get them to focus on their diet, because if they focus on their diet, they have a far greater chance of success. Number 2, we provide more than nutritional advice. I've always believed that success in private practice is about 95% communication skills and 5% nutrition knowledge. But of your 5%, you need to know 100%. So it doesn't matter how many grams of protein in an egg if people don't think that you can get that information across to them. So 95% of success is the way you disperse that brilliant nutrition knowledge you gathered. So it leaves us with number 1, and this is my personal favorite and the mantra that I want to finish this video with, which is, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. People do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. You need to be empathetic. You need to guide people. You need to support people. And if you do that, you'll be remarkably successful in private practice. So as the sun sets over the beautiful Lighthouse Beach in Port Macquarie, I want to thank you for your attention on this video and encourage you to consider private practice, particularly in towns like Port Macquarie, for your future career prospects.